So I just watched the second episode of Uzumaki. Never before have I seen an anime drop off so horribly in quality. I mean, you have episode one. It covers some of the most iconic Junji Ito panels, to ever come out. And if you don't know, I'm a huge fan of the source material, right? Like I have the book, I've read it multiple times. That first episode, it sold me on it. It sold me on this idea of a horror anime actually being good for once. The art style was super unique. The rotoscoping animation was like really detailed and really in depth, and I think it was just like it was set up for success so early on. And I was like, this is going to be a sure hit for this season. I thought that Uzumaki for this season was going to be a must watch. And with only 4 episodes, I was like, if all of them are going to be of this quality, I'm okay with it being pretty short and sweet. Pretty short and sweet and good. And then the second episode drops, and I watch the second episode, and I'm just wondering, where did all the quality go? Keep in mind, they've been working for over 5 years on this single anime that only has 4 episodes. And the second one just had, it's like the biggest middle finger ever. It just looks so mid. It's still not bad if I compare it to every other horror anime that it's released. The art style is still very unique. But what happened to the animation? I genuinely don't know, but it like dropped off a cliff. It's like they gave me the world's most beautiful cheeseburger, and then as soon as I took a bite and put it back down, they defecated all over it. Now it's just a sloppy Joe. I'd rather just read the source material at this point. Why I'm just gonna read the manga? If you're gonna stay so close to the source material in terms of art style and everything, why wasn't it consistent? Why did we just stop after the first episode? What was the whole point of that? Okay, so I just did a bit of research and a bit of digging, and apparently, it looks like the main director was kicked off the project after episode 1 and had a complete change in the staff, with a new director for episode 2 being someone who's blacklisted from the industry. It's the same guy who did some of the Tower God season 2 action sequences that people have been clowning on. If you haven't seen Tower God season 2, that ended up being kind of shit. A lot of the action sequences ended up being like way worse. Episode 2 went to a small outsourcing studio who outsourced it even more to like 8 different studios, and directors were changed to hentai animators. Okay, that I don't know if all of this is true, but if that's true, you can't make this up. The first episode of Uzumaki was like pure, it was just beautiful. It was beautiful in the most horrific way. Like it just set the scene so well. It had that iconic, that swirling panel with the girl. It animated the iconic panel so well. It did such a good job that I thought that they would be able to continue with this kind of style and this kind of animation throughout the entire series. And they just dropped the ball. They dropped the ball so hard, apparently using hentai animators. Come on now. As to why the main director was kicked off the project, we don't know, but we can theorize as to why. Everything in episode 1 was mocapped, completely redone in 3D, and completely redrawn in 2D. And you can tell, if you watch the first episode, the movements look pretty smooth for the most part. It looks kind of like as realistic as you can get with Junji Ito's art style. It looks very faithful, but it also has a very like creepy edge to it. That I think was missing in a lot of other Junji Ito horror adaptations. This seemed to be the one that could break the curse and actually make a horror anime that was genuinely frightening and unnerving. The only one I've seen that even matches that was Mononoke, and horror anime have just never been good. And I was just hoping, for once we would get something. Whatever, let's just keep reading this. I'm just so sad. I'm genuinely so sad. The producers could have seen this as so unbelievably demanding to do for the entire show that they kicked him off. And since they had spent so many resources in episode 1, they went to someone who's really shit at the job just so they can get it done. So all those 5 years that went into this anime, most of that time wasn't even being worked on to begin with, probably. I think what he's trying to say is that they didn't actually spend that much time working on the anime for 5 years, and I can see that. If this is what you came out with after 5 years for 4 episodes, most anime don't even get 5 years for a 12 episode season. 5 years for 4 episodes. Like, listen, I understand anime is a very, very hard working medium. You have to put a lot of work to make it look good and to look decent. I understand that, right? But 4 episodes of one of the best authors ever, this is how you treat his work? It's sad. Apparently they outsourced like episode 2 to a bunch of Chinese animators. And to be completely clear, Chinese animators aren't bad. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that all Chinese animators are bad, but typically, if you see Chinese animators on Japanese anime, listed in the credits, it usually means they were outsourced because it is just cheaper. And so they're usually being paid less, and therefore the quality is just not going to be as good. That is just how it is factually, right? Like if you pay people less, you're outsourcing it to other countries and whatnot. The product is just not going to be as good, right? The quality isn't going to be there, unfortunately. It's just some parts just ended up being more funny than they were creepy. I started laughing in the middle of the episode, and I'm not feeling unnerved at all during some of the scenes. The only scenes that was like kind of unnerving was the snail scene, which was just like gross. That was the only thing. It was just gross. But I also just felt grossly disrespected. It's the greatest drop off. It's the greatest drop off in anime history. I don't know how you can go from one episode to being peak and then to absolute garbage in the next episode. That is generally like a 10 to like 6 drop off. I don't think it's like a 0. I'm not going to say that it's horrible. It's actually better than most anime. Like that second episode of Uzumaki is still better than your average isekai, whatever. But I'm just saying like from where it was at to where it's at now, it's tough. But the most important thing to take out of this is that it is the staff that works on the anime that makes it good or bad. I can't blame the director solely for all of the problems here. It clearly is a problem on the animation front and at multiple different levels. This is probably poor planning. I mean, if it took you 5 years to come up with 4 episodes that were, with the first one being amazing, but then the second one just completely falling short, clearly that is a planning issue. As a huge fan of Junji Ito, it sucks to see his work consistently not get the adaptation that they deserve. And I thought this was the one. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. Well, I'll see you guys later. Peace.